So welcome back to part 2 of our extreme eBay makeover for our class 08. So mixing a bit of paint up today. Now this doesn't look much like BR Blue, I appreciate. But this is kind of what we're working toward. This is a picture from Instagram chap called Ian Charles, and I'll put a link down in the description. He's allowed me to share this picture with you. So you can see the blue is really faded on that particular shot, and that's kind of what we're going to try and achieve with this. Now you need to bear in mind that this is going to get lots more layers of rust and grime and soot and weathering and all sorts of things. It's going to go quite a bit darker, so do bear with it. I've got my fingers and legs and my arms crossed that this will actually come out the right shade, but I'm fairly confident. These things seem to sort of tie together when you get the last little bits on. So anyway, so I've mixed up a colour that I think would be a good starting point, and we're painting over the black primer. As you can see, the good thing with the black primer is if I miss little bits, which I'm kind of purposely doing in some of the areas, it looks like a shadow, or gives a bit of a sort of shading. So especially on this side, I'll do it a little bit more so you can actually see. So I'm taking a little less time, and you can see the sort of the darker patches. I'll cover those in a little bit more in a moment, but just to give you an idea, so you can be a bit more precise. And if you work around sort of panel lines and paint on the inside of the panels and leave around the panel lines, you'll get a darker area. Just to give you an idea between one side and the other, sort of effect you can achieve using the black primer. That's one of the reasons I use black primer. Just it looks good when it covers anyway. It kind of shows up everything. It makes it look quite crisp to me anyway. So that's the first version of the blue, and we're just going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to add a lighter shade in, so especially in the center of the panels. It's I've just added more white to this mix, and we're just going to just blow in a couple of the center of the panels just to give like a mottled effect. We don't want it very consistent because it fades quite randomly across the whole of the loco. Notice I have a lot of this is going to be covered with different layers of grime and rust and soot, especially the roof, the cab roof, and that's the bonnet, I guess that is. So across the top there, they will be pretty much covered in grime, and probably not a lot of the colour will show through anyway. It looks a bit lighter in this shot than it is actually in real life, so please don't be too worried. Not at the moment anyway, because I think it'll be fine. Now I've looked at lots of reference images of the cab roof, and I couldn't decide if it should be left painted blue or black or grey. It doesn't seem to be any sort of definite colour scheme to the 08s in this BR Blue. Some I've seen with blue roofs, some appear to have black roofs. If you look on models from Hornby and Backman and so on, again the same, some are blue, some are black. So I don't really know what the true colour scheme is, but like I say, the roof is going to be, especially the cab roof, they get covered. So that's going to be really dark. I think from the reference image you're working from, there seems to be a hint of blue showing through. So we're going to leave it just in blue on this particular occasion. So that's the lighter colours dotted in. I'm just going to make a slightly darker shade and just to sort of mix up the panels a little bit more. Just see that starting to happen now. And this is slightly darker still. So bear in mind when using washes and weathering powders that things will go quite a bit darker. If you start off with the the original colour and then start adding weathering and washes, it will go very, very dark. So just be mindful of that. So you just want a random appearance with the colours. So no particular rhyme or reason where the different patches are going to go. It's just wherever feels appropriate at the time. The roof I'm going to leave a little bit because I say a lot of that's going to get covered. So not going to fuss too much over the roof at the moment. Okay, so our next part is to paint the yellow ends. We're not doing the wasp stripes at the moment. That's going to be a decal, but we need to paint them yellow. Now we're going to decide whether to paint the yellow first and then the blue afterwards, but I decided to do it this way. And I'm masking the paint, which is obviously only been on there a few minutes because I'm painting this in one sort of go. Using a thing called Frisket, which I've used before. If you watched videos before, you would have seen that. Frisket is a really low tack film that we use for masking if we're doing sort of stenciling and graffiti and so on, but it's really good for this because even though this paint is literally 10 or 15 minutes old, it's the Frisket is quite a low tack, so it's not going to pull the paint off, unlike masking tape. So there's benefits to that. One benefit is that it doesn't damage the paint. Secondly, that it doesn't stick terribly well, especially on these weird shapes where we've got mouldings of pipes and steps and all sorts of things. So it's not going to stick to it terribly well, but it will just mask an area off enough for me to get a line of some description. So on the reference pictures we looked at on the 08, the front yellow area just tends to extend around the front just that little bit. You can see where I've left unmasked, and then at the top it will end up being, it'll go into black. So just about there where the blade is at the moment, from there onwards it will be black across the top. So that part we'll paint in by brush later on. Now if I airbrush this at an angle straight down, although the Frisket isn't sticking too well, as you can see, it should leave a fairly sharp line, sharp enough for what we need here. And then again around the back, you can see it's just sort of bubbling up at the top, but if we do it at a sharp enough angle to that, then we should be okay. And if we need to, we can clean it off or obscure it a bit later on. So again, on the reference images looking at, it appears that the buffer beams are also painted in this sort of wasp's yellow. It looks a bit light on here. A bit later on I actually added a little bit of a darker shade in the middle of the yellow. I did that off camera. So it's a little bit more vivid at the moment, but it's a lot of these did fade quite a lot, even to some of them went to sort of almost white. If you tried to paint a model that looked, like some of the images we've seen, they just wouldn't look believable. They are so extreme, the amounts of rust and the colours that they go. One of the things when I spoke to Ian, who let me have the pictures to show on here, is that a lot of his images, which are really great, you should really check him out on Instagram and give him a follow. He was saying that, if we was to model the way that some of the real life pictures show these locos, they just wouldn't look believable. So yeah, hopefully we can do a few of those, and if I can show a reference image next to some of the builds, then maybe people will believe. So So our next stage is to add in some of the white detail on places like these sort of steps here, and the handrail at the top and around the door, and a few other places. And for this we're going to use a Vallejo acrylic. This is Vallejo colour, I think it's called Off-White, and rather than using a brush, we're going to apply this with a cocktail stick. It's just a bit easier and a bit more precise actually. So not too much paint on the end of your cocktail stick, otherwise it will blob all over the place and it won't be a particularly sharp line. So I've laid the model down flat. It's much easier if it's still. It's easier to see now. So just carefully along your race detail with this. As I say, not too much on the cocktail stick, otherwise it won't. It'll just mess all over the place. Now, this being a railroad type Hornby model, there's details missing. There's normally extra handles on the doors, around where the engine is and so on. So they're missing, unfortunately. But it'd be nice if we could add them in, but not this time, I think. So that I think that's a dial. That's normally shown as a very light colour, so we'll colour that in for now. Now, not every picture I've seen of the 08 has had these details in white. Some of them are just the body colour. Some are who knows what colour they were at some point. I'm not sure if white was a standard thing anyway on every 08, probably not. But it's just a nice little detail on this that I want to sort of highlight. And we just need to continue on the other side. They are very slightly differently placed on the other side. I think the steps are a little bit different on the other side, around the front, around the nose. But most other things are the same. So we'll just continue with them. Just while I'm doing this, just want to thank everybody that's subscribed so far. It's really encouraging that you're enjoying what I do. It's lovely to get up in the morning and see, you know, the amount of subscribers has gone up, and all the likes and the positive comments, and it's great that you're interacting with, you know, what we do. It's just a bit of fun. It's not, you know, we're not intending to make exact replicas of things on the rails, and you know the reason for me building this one, and it's like I say, it's just nice that you've all got involved and have been very encouraging. So it's just that seeing those comments just makes me want to do more and continue with more videos each day. So again, yeah, thanks very much for all your participation in everything we've done so far, and look forward to hearing from you each time. So I missed the door handles off. Did check back on the reference picture, they seem to be white, so I'm just going to quickly touch those in, and then I think that's the white bits done for now. So our final stage is to just paint in this area around the chassis. I'm doing this with brush, as you can see. I'm probably not the best at painting with a brush, but because of where it is, you know, and the weathering that's going to get, it's not that important that we get a sort of a really clean edge, because a lot of the grime will build up around the edge, and that will mask a lot of my my dodgy painting along the bottom there. This is a very dark brown, almost black, that I've used on some of the prototypes, on some of the, you know, the real 08s. it seems to be all in blue, sometimes it's in black. Invariably it's very dirty. So that's where we're going to aim with this. So yeah, expect lots of weathering powders and grime to be added to this bit a bit later on. That's it, done. Just get that to dry for a few minutes, and then our final coat is just to get ready for our decals, which is our next stage. I'm using a thing called Johnson's Klear, which is a floor polish. Johnson's Klear, there you go. And unfortunately, I don't make that anymore, so I'm not showing you that, so you can rush out and buy any. But they stopped making this like years and years ago, but it's really popular for modelers to use for this particular reason. It kind of is a gloss coat in between paint and the decals. But I bought this just a couple of years ago in a shop, and I should have bought more, but I didn't. I only bought the one. But there could well be stock knocking around, so if you're at a boot sale or at the pound shop and you see any, buy as much as you can, because on eBay it's worth a fortune. Apart from that, you could always use just a gloss varnish, which I normally would use anyway. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in part 3, and happy modelling.